First off, when my opponent stated that heart disease is a leading cause in death is irrelevant, we are arguing that changing the driving age from 16 to 18 would not only benefit teenagers, but it would also benefit drivers as a whole, and heart disease has no connection to driving. So first off, if the driving age was raised from 16 to 18, there would be lower crash rates, less accidents, and less fatalities. And according to the Allstate Insurance, one of the 4 primary causes of crashes in teens is erratic or reckless driving. And our significance claim is that over the past years, many teenagers are getting into more and more accidents. And unlike what my opponent said, crashes in 16-year-old drivers has risen. From Rita Rubin of USA Today, she writes that in 2005, 64 out of every 100,000 16-year-old drivers were involved in a fatal accident. And in the same article, Rubin also stated in 1995, 20 out of every 75,000 16-year-old drivers were also involved in fatal accidents. This comes to show that teens are becoming more and more reckless on the road as the years go by. And if the driving age stays at 16, the number would possibly triple as more and more 16-year-olds are pursuing driving at such a young age. Also, many studies have shown a connection to brain development and driving. Most studies have come to show that 16-year-old drivers' brains are not as well developed as an 18-year-old. Robert Davis from USA Today writes, the executive branch of the teen brain, like Michael stated, the part that weighs risk, makes judgments, and controls impulsive behavior is lacking and weak in younger teens. That part of the brain is more than necessary in a new driver. It can determine the life of a new 16-year-old driver. But like Michael said, many studies have shown that 16-year-old drivers are the highest category of drivers involved in accidents. And a young driver's mental health has everything to do with such a statistic. The National Institute of Mental Health also studied the executive branch of a 16-year-old brain in comparison to an 18-year-old. The National Institute of Mental Health found that the executive branch of the brain of a new 18-year-old driver is safer than a new 16-year-old driver, meaning an 18-year-old's ability to make judgments and control his or her behavior is much more rational and mature in an 18-year-old. Rather than a 16-year-old who would have an irrational approach to making driving decisions. And driving is not an easy task to comprehend at such a young age. A couple more years of brain development and maturity will not only extend a teen's life, but it can also prevent the high number of accidents in 16-year-olds. Other studies from the Safe Transportation Research and Education Center also reiterated the fact that 16-year-old brains are still developing. The Safe Transportation Research and Education Center stated mature judgments and decision-making skills are not in place until the age of 18. 16-year-old drivers are just irrational and too much of a risk-taker when it comes to driving, and the part of the brain that weighs risk is just not as developed as it would be with 2 more years of growing. And on to our inherency claim. Although there are stricter driving rules coming into place as years have passed, it does not help to teach younger teens to drive as well as they should be. Of the 50 states, only 4 do not have a form of the graduated driver's licensing system, and the system entails a driver under the age of 18 to have a learner's permit, no driving at night, and no driving with passengers for a year. Having the graduated driver's licensing system does not help to train new young drivers. 16-year-olds are more likely to violate the provisions made in the system instead of following them, especially the night restrictions. And according to the Center for the Study of Young Drivers, 10% of 900 teens reported to violating the night restrictions. And studies have shown that a high rate of 16-year-old deaths occur at night. My opponent stated that the graduate driver's licensing system helps new drivers, but John McNeil from Geico Auto Insurance writes, the death rate for 16-year-old drivers increase after 10 p.m. and especially after midnight with the graduated license system in place. Even though the graduated licensing system is trying to help reduce the number of accidents in teens, the statistic addresses that the graduated licensing system is not doing what it should be. The connection of the nighttime driving restriction and the number of new drivers violating that restriction shows that there is no true enforcement of nighttime driving. And since driving at night is more hazardous than in the day, the harm increases with new drivers who have not been exposed to the conditions. And onto our solvency claim, if the driving age is raised from 16 to 18, there will be fewer accidents among young new drivers, and drivers will be more mature and able to make more rational decisions while driving. Since the graduated driver's licensing system hasn't shown great results in multiple states, it can be concluded that a new policy is needed to make the change. According to the Safe Transportation Research and Education Center, the graduated licensing laws do not generate a delay in teens receiving their license. This comes to show that the graduated licensing system is just in place as a formality to make it seem like receiving a driver's license is harder than it really is. For example, many countries in Europe have a minimum driving age of 18 or older. The number of accidents reported with the 18-year-olds are far less than half of the 64 for every 100,000 16-year-old drivers that we have here in the U.S. If only the United States changed the driving age to 18, it would have the same results, if not better, than those in Europe. But much research has also shown that Europe has a tougher process of gaining a driver's license, not just a graduated license system. They do have a form of the graduated license system, but it is designed to really test the skills of a new driver. And because the driving age is at 18, the mentality of the new driver is also better than those of a 16-year-old due to the fact that an 18-year-old's brain is more developed with a better thought process. If the driving age is raised from 16 to 18, a new 16-year-old driver can be prevented from becoming a statistic of teen deaths. Thank you.